So now we should be live both on LinkedIn and YouTube. And this is with a bit of a delay, a couple of minutes, but it was a bit of a technical issues here on our side. But welcome everyone to the conversation about the Helix of Success. And I'm happy to present my partner in crime here in the Success Crime, Roelof Vuurboom. I was practicing pronouncing your name quite a lot yesterday and today with my husband. Did I do a good job?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a 7. It can be better. There's always room for improvement, as we know in the mentoring world.
So tell me how it would be, or what would be the best improvement for the next step?
Well, it's Roelof, which is the R in that, and then you've got Vuurboom, and then that sound. That's a difficult one. That's because then you really have to get outside of your comfort zone for that. But well.
Roelof Vuurboom.
Yeah, that's actually. I'm going to move you to an 8 right now.
So yay! Already improvement there. Yeah, my husband was laughing when I was practicing with him. He's like, "You sound too Swedish with your intonations going up and down. Dutch is much straightforward."
Yeah, that's true. We find Swedish to be kind of a bit singy sound. Yeah.
It is.
Quite
it is.
Right about it.
I love that. I love that melody of Swedish. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and I used to speak it every day. So let's dig into the Helix of Success, and probably we'll go a bit into detail why we get to this idea and how long we've known each other and so on. But let's start with you, Roelof, and how did we get into the idea of Helix?
Helix. Okay, so just a bit of my background. I've been in IT for many years, almost going on 40 years. I'm that old, and seen many things. And I've also focused a bit, had my own startups, and worked with large companies and small companies. In any case, and it's always been in the IT world, in the software space, and many functions going from hard development and product management and business management and sales and so on and so forth. So kind of all of those, during those years, you get a lot of experience. And I think about 2 or 3, and I've always liked to, I guess, to share knowledge, asked or often unasked, and discuss things with people. And I guess as I get older, I started to get to the point where I kind of got this feeling of wanting to give back, the famous give back feeling. So I think about a year or 2 or 3, about 2 or 3 years ago, I started thinking, okay, so what do I want to do with the next 10 years of my life? And I was doing a lot of project management then, and my first thought was, that's definitely what I don't want to do, is continue doing project management. So really, I realized, just think of things that would give me energy. What would I be want to do in 10 years' time? And then coaching and mentoring was one. I thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. I enjoy that. It gives me energy, and I'm very much in the energy balance. If you get to a meeting and you get energy, it's a good meeting. If you're given energy, it's not a good meeting. So that gave me energy, and I also wanted to combine it because actually I have a computer science and a math degree, and I've never actually always let it drop. I've always liked to do it. I thought, well, I want to do something certainly with younger people because I always enjoy that. So I got a bit into the startup space and even into students who were doing startups there. And the third aspect was that I wanted to do something that was new for me. So I thought machine learning, AI, is a particular branch of computer science that I didn't know about yet. And it's based a lot on math. And I also have a math degree. So I wanted something where I could challenge my brain a bit. So that's what got me to there, which doesn't get us quite to here. But as I also enjoy writing, I started trying to give information through LinkedIn, which is how we met each other. And I sort of focus on those 3 topics: startups, mentoring and coaching, and machine learning. And I've, posted, I think, over the last year or 2, maybe 200 posts or articles, what have you. So I've started to collect information. And I'd done that on a scale, really just collecting all the posts that I thought were useful. Because I think everybody has that problem when they start posting on LinkedIn, is they can find the first 10 posts, and after that you lose them because they go in your feed and you spend ages looking for them. So I did a practical thing. I wrote an article where I just linked to all the posts. And I think that also triggered you, Anna. Said, hey, that's actually a useful way of finding my own crap, because you have exactly the same problem. And I think somehow we met up with that basic, hey, that's a great idea. And we were both realized, hey, certainly around mentoring and coaching, we had very similar ideas. And so I think he's already sort of thinking, hey, I can always collect my posts on that space. So that brought us into the same, I would say, parallel swimming lanes. What brought us into the same swimming lane was something was really interesting, is that we were both discussing about, the way we mentor and the goals that we had, which were pretty much identical. But it turned out that we were actually approaching the spectrum from different ends. So that was a real insight for me. Because you were actually seem to be focusing on older people, or older than you, put it that way. And I was focusing on people that were younger than me. Well, you're young and I'm old, so maybe that isn't surprising. And I never thought about that. But then we started discussing what it is that we were actually mentoring on. And it turned out to be two separate things. And that was really an insight, because at the end of the day, it turned out that you were focusing on people who had a very high performance level, but somehow we're getting off base with their core and their grounding. And your focus was on talking with people who had these very high performance levels, but seemed to have drifted away from their grounding, their core. And I seem to be talking with people, certainly younger people, who were getting into startups, and they tended to be very well grounded because they were going into doing something which was a very high risk. So if they felt uncertain of themselves, they wouldn't be doing that. So they tend to be, for that phase of their life, to be very well grounded, but they were looking to see how they could improve their performance. So what we were both doing, the commonality, is that we were trying to align grounding, and we discovered that actually was a form of maturity to their performance. So you had people who had a high performance, but were having problems with their grounding, and you were trying to align them. And I was looking at people who had a high level of grounding, but were trying to improve their performance. But so also they were trying to align. So we were aligning, but from different ends of the spectrum. And that brought us to the what we call the Helix of Success, or the mentoring helix, because the two common concepts one was maturity, and the other one was performance. And those were sort of strands that were joined together in the way the visualization of a helix was, is that in order to perform better, you need to mature. In order to mature, you probably need to perform better. And so this intertwining of maturity and performance was a framing that for both of us was very surprising. And it came coincidentally because we just discovered we were doing the same thing but differently. So that's the short version.
Yeah, but in this short version, you tapped into so many things already. And I want to go back to your background and what you shared with us, that you have been thinking about what you want to do with the next decade of your life. And I really love how you combine that, the things that you are good at already, the things that you're passionate about, and the things that you want to improve yourself with. And I think this is a bit of a formula of success already for yourself, for keeping the motivation. I talk quite a lot about motivation with my clients, because often we see it as something that we need to wait for to get going with things. But in reality, motivation is something that comes from movement. So you need to get going, and then you get the motivation from the progress, from this motion, and you kind of start creating the momentum. And the secret to keep getting motivation is to really tap into the things that A, you're good at, B, what you're interested in, and C, what you want to improve on. And this is something that all those three components that you've mentioned, that you have identified for yourself and that have defined what your focus is for the current years. And I really want to give you kudos for that, because that's not everyone who is coming to that formula so naturally as you did right now.
Yeah, thanks. You know how to compliment people better than anybody else I know.
Oh.
But again, as always, Anna, you triggered something in me that I just realized. Because what I always say, it's exactly the same thing, but differently. I always say, motion creates emotion. And that's exactly the same thing as you're saying is with motivation, you need movement, motive, and movement. I think they come motive and motor. They're the same roots. So it's movement that's creating the emotion. So you're so right. You need to move and find a space to move in. I would say perhaps that's what you're looking at there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you talked about our differences and similarities. And as you said, you're older than me. And I have been provoked a bit recently about that. Like, how can you be helping leaders who are like older than you and just no secrets at the moment as we speak? I'm 31. Yeah. And it's younger than many of the leaders who come to me for their help. But me not having been through as many years as they on the earth doesn't mean that I can give them the new perspectives. And that's what our conversations with you all showed to ourselves, right? That I give you some new perspectives, you give me beautiful insights in your knowledge and expertise and experience, and those together are just beautifully intertwined, and they are not mutually exclusive in a way. Age and experience, you can, as we discussed last week, I think, that experience, you can have 20 years of experience, but those are 20 years of 1 year of experience, or 20 times of 1 year of experience, that you're kind of going through the same things again and again. But at the same time, you can have evolve. You could have evolved and actually have 20 years of experience because you built on the previous year every new year. And this is something I want to challenge everyone on. When you feel like you're questioning someone, just dig a bit deeper into, okay, what am I questioning here? What are my insecurities maybe? But also like, okay, what am I actually looking for? Because I'm not a best fit for anyone, and that's for sure. But it's not defined by the age of the people who are coming to me.
No, in
It's
fact,
defined by the other things.
It's your ability. One of the things that you're really, really good at is your ability to reflect. So you really know how to, when somebody's talking, that you reflect back to them and pick out some of the thoughts that are important and some of the, and in a real sense, age can be a barrier to that. I mean, so youth. So I'm giving you your pitch for that. It's because you have the ability to not deform the reflection. So you stay really kind of what's the word here, that you try to give just a clean reflection without putting yourself in between. So you really try to just reflect back to the person what it is, what's them. You kind of sort of almost take yourself out of the equation. So you're acting as a sort of as a mirror, and you know, in that sense, experience or set ways of doing stuff there could actually block that. So that's a very powerful thing where I think you're using. So in other words, it's a sort of the wonderment of youth when you see a kid like your kid walks in and says, "Hey, wait, this is all new," you know, and has no preconceived or few preconceived notions of how things should go. That's one of the things I'm saying. Our conversations always go off-road. We just talk about any and everything, and that's probably one of the reasons. It's because you don't have a preconceived set of notions, or you have. I mean, a lot of young people can have that. It's not just a youth age thing. It's also a personality thing, and you take that piece of your personality, which actually has nothing to do with age, and you run with that, which is really good, which makes it. That's why you can be a really good mentor for people again who. I mean, I think if somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, what should I do?" But that's the point. They wouldn't. They would discuss things, and you would probably end up saying, "What do you think you should do?" And because you probably think they already know the answers. They're just not tapping into the right answers.
Yeah, quite often I, as a coach, need to just give permission to people to answer their own questions.
Yeah. So that, and
or
you do
take
that
it
by
out.
being the mirror. You're the non-judgmental mirror. So you say, "Okay, I will reflect back to what you are, and what you see is not that bad." I mean, that's the bit you bring in there. So you put a nice little lighting around on the mirror so people kind of look good too. That doesn't hurt. Yeah, definitely.
I really need to write down all the things that you're saying about me, because you're presenting me much better than I do, I think, Roelof. Thanks so much for the warm words. Actually, when I started working with leaders, I was very careful about using the word curiosity and being curious, because I thought it's a very weirdo thing to say in the leadership space. But with my podcast, I already mentioned a couple of times on my show that more and more people whom I interview actually mention that word, that this is one of the important features to have as a good leader, to be curious. And that's what you're talking about, this non-judgmental, not having agenda when I come into the conversations with people with whom I'm having conversations. I am there to be curious. I'm there to explore. I'm there to help you explore yourself and your world and your life. So this is something that I'm really happy to see, that I'm not the only one using this word. And I would say it's partly, to go back to our Helix of Success, it's partly tapped into the maturity. And I don't want to boast that I'm mature or anything like this, but I feel like this is something that comes really with maturity. And going back into this, are you having 20 times of 1 year experience, or are you being able to build upon it, all those previous experiences, and mature? So I think that's kind of intertwined with the curiosity, maturity.
It is.
What do you think?
Curiosity is absolutely essential to everything, to innovate science. It's curiosity is the basic emotion, which will the ability to stay curious and be curious is agree. It's I think it's one of the fundamental drivers for maturity, because if you're not curious, you won't learn. It's simple as that. You're not curious. You're not interested in what's happening around you and why is that different or what it is. So curiosity is your primitive DNA, which is an intellectual curiosity. It's and any good leader, really, or any good performer, I suppose, it will be curious or would be curious, because it's the curiosity that will say, hey, should we do this differently, or do we continue on the same path? So yeah, and you're right. It's being curious and asking questions out of curiosity, which might sound awkward, is actually the basis of going off road. I would say, if you're not curious, you don't go off road. You just say, look, we have to get from A to B, and you literally do not go off road. It's the on road, off road paradigm and metaphor makes a lot of sense. So that's it.
Not in Iceland, because you're legally not allowed to drive off-road, just because the nature is so gentle and vulnerable. So that's a very strict rule here. But otherwise, I really love if you take it out of the Icelandic context, then it's a beautiful metaphor that I think a lot of people will find helpful.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking of Australia in my head. I'd see the sun, because everybody goes off-road there. Yeah. Yeah, you're quite right. You don't go off road here. Well, but we can intellectually we can go off road. That's fine. Nobody's gonna.
We can and we should, because it's fun. So we've known each other just for a couple of weeks actually, and I just said we connected on LinkedIn because of our likes to some other person's posts. Nick Telson, we both enjoy his insights that he's sharing with his community. And then you connected with me and we just hopped on a call. And already in the first call, we're like, let's create something together. And this whole idea of creating a community, the Helix of Success, is coming from that, from our organizations, enjoying each other's company, enjoying sharing the insights and just throwing ideas at each other, seeing what bounces back and in which form. And we just thought, why do we keep it for ourselves? We can actually invite everyone else to join us. So do you want to talk a bit about what Helix of Success is community-wise?
Okay, so yes, that's right. Part of our journey was, well, why don't we collect the stuff that we have, the crap we put all together, and not only our stuff, but there is nothing wrong with collecting other people's stuff as long as you attribute it properly. So I've regularly, and you do too, shared other people's posts that I thought made a lot of sense. And we thought, well, so we already kind of collect this stuff in the sense that we built an article which references. I think right now we said, look, if we have around 100 posts, then we have something genuine, because a lot of communities. I mean, let's go back to what the problem is. There are a lot of communities around a lot of subjects, and these communities can be really large, and maybe 100,000 people. But the issue is, at least I find the issue is one is that there is no um, the content is not curated. In other words, there'll be two good posts, and you get eight kind of pieces of crap or just nothing of that. So the good stuff gets drowned out by the old stuff. And particularly with LinkedIn, you have this continuous feed, so you can't find it anyway. So we thought, well, why don't what we could do is collect the stuff and make sure at least that the quality of the stuff is good. So we wanted to create a community where people can share good stuff, and that they know that everything in there is, at least somebody finds good stuff. And that's somebody of the moderators. And that's right now, that's you and me. We think we're kind of good at moderating what's good and what's not good. At least we have the same opinion. And so people could go to at least to that group, and and then either browse for the stuff, and we have a set of links so they can find stuff, and it's good stuff. So it's just curated. It's basic as that. And of course they can comment in it, and they can add their own stuff. So it will just be a big bucket, if you want, of just good content. And we thought that service alone, really, because we really don't see that kind of curation going on. Really, not just for coaching and mentoring, but really for any subject. It just doesn't seem. It just seems that you get a group, and then everybody can throw stuff in. And we wanted to get away from promotional stuff. So people, trying to sell their services or their products or events, but people who wanted to just give content. And they could ask questions too, because good questions also can generate good insight. And again, just making sure that content stays, of high quality. And so we did that as an experiment, and we had 80 posts, and we thought, hey, this makes sense. You get a feeling that it's just is better. It's more, in this case, less is more, in the sense that you take away all the fluff kind of thing. So we just and we had that theme of the helix of success, because we said it's the intertwining of maturity and performance that actually is really the basis of success. And I like the metaphor we had of the high jumper who has to perform, has to be able to jump, and has to build his muscles there. But to do that, he has to jump from a solid spot. So he needs grounding. So, and grounding is a metric of maturity, and leadership, interestingly enough, is a metric for performance. So what we were saying, I think, is really the two deep key aspects of somebody is being mature and being able to perform. So being a leader is not an end goal in itself. And I think that's a kind of really, and I'm sort of thinking this at the moment. This is more or less this is what happens. We start thinking there. Being a leader is, often you say leadership, it's actually a goal. It's actually something to help you get to the goal. And leadership is about performance and improving performance. Not only your performance, but the performance of the people around you. And maturity is about being grounded. And we also notice this sort of time aspect to it, that grounding, it's an intrinsic metric. It's intrinsic to you. But performance is an extrinsic metric. It's an external metric. So and also it seems that maturity sort of connects you to your past. It connects you to your past you. But performance really is about connecting you to your future you. So there seems to be this past, present, future paradigm around this, which gives us the feeling that, hey, we might be having a genuine insight here. We might not be, but it seemed to fit into that. So what we did was we took our posts, and we broke them down to those buckets on the things that we think have to do with maturity and things that we have to do with performance. And when we did that, it seemed to make sense. It seemed to gel. It seemed to have structure. So this is kind of the theme, the theoretical framework, if you want, of where we think we want to try to structure the content that we have. So we want to structure content around these two fundamental concepts of maturity and performance, and what is needed to get there. And we want to ensure that there is a good level of quality about that. Does that kind of summarize what we're trying to do, Anna?
I would say so, Roelof. And I think what you're talking about is really connecting the dots. You talked a lot about different dimensions: past, present, future of you, extrinsic, intrinsic, rewards, and metrics, and we're finding the way of connecting them all and showing how they're all interrelated. And as you said, we feel like it's coming anywhere or like coming somewhere, and we're on to something here with some insights, but we don't know, and we don't want to wait until we know for sure before we open up this community to the open public. We want you guys to be part of this journey so that we can explore together. And we by no means say that we have all the ultimate answers, the two of us, but it's just a fun project process of exploring together, of being curious together, and bringing very different backgrounds, very different experiences to the same table, and see what comes out of that. I find the beauty in those conversations with you, and I really would like more people to join the table and join the discussion. And as we discuss in the description of the group, we believe that everyone should be able to learn how to mentor others, and everyone hopefully will get inspired by joining us to find a way to mentor others and to give back to the community, just like you decided at some point in your career, in your life, Roelof, to start giving back to the community in a bit more aware and focused way. I'm pretty sure you've done it before as well. It's the same for me. I'm trying to give back by different ways to my local community back home in Ukraine, to the startup community by providing scholarships, by being a mentor to the youth at some point in my life, and so on and so forth. And I think it's a very beautiful part of enriching your own life, broadening your perspectives, and making sure that your knowledge lives over you, how to say, really stays here on this planet and continues spreading even after you're gone, in a way. And
I wasn't planning on checking out anytime soon, by the way.
I'm talking from myself, from my own experience.
Okay.
I'm talking about myself and feeling that I want to build some legacy, and it's never too early to start with that.
Yeah.
And it's important to start sharing what our wisdom is, and to mentor someone is a beautiful way to explore it. Because quite often the high performers with whom I'm working with, and I would like to know your opinion from your experience, Roelof, but people whom I work with quite often feel like, oh, but who am I to teach or to mentor that person? Who am I? Is quite often this imposter syndrome question that pops up in their head. Also about posting on LinkedIn, for example, and those kind of things, just starting to share their brilliant ideas in public instead of just one-to-one behind a closed door with me. I'm like, this has to go out. Just start sharing it. And they just feel like a huge flaw, and like someone will just come in and bang their head on their head if they start sharing it publicly. But the beauty of that, once they open up, they just start, first of all, summarizing it in a better way that it helps them more, because their ideas crystallize in a more beautiful way. But then also that others find a lot of inspiration in that and take learnings from these sharings and do something with them in their lives. So it's a bit of a process that everyone wins from.
So we go to the point where we've and it's really cool because we say, well, look, who's mentoring maturity? Well, that's Anna because she's 31, and who's mentoring performance? Well, that's Roelof because he's 66, by the way. So that also makes it really nice, and it's actually exactly the way that we thought normally you would think that this is the way it would go. Oh, I'm the old guy, so I'm going to do the maturity bit. And you're young and strong, so you're going for the performance bit. So it really is kind of cool. It's exactly the way around, and that's kind of twisting our head upside down. So we have, I think, I don't know if you already given out the link or what have you, that we start to invite people to, I guess, join in. How do you see that going?
On LinkedIn, it's in the description of the event. So if you're watching this, just go to the description where I'm presenting the topic, and you'll find a link to the group there. But you can also just look for Helix of Success on LinkedIn. Just look for that, and you'll find a black picture with a yellow helix, this DNA spiral. If you don't know what helix is, by the way, we probably should mention that. Golden.
Golden.
Pardon me. So just request to join the group, and we'll happily let you in and start sharing. Start learning from what we've already collected there. Suggest your own posts or someone else's posts. And as we said, we'll curate this just to make sure that the quality is high and that every post brings value, so that whenever you come to the group, you actually find some insights, find some good stuff that you can think about, reflect upon, and learn from. So we will curate it, but we want it to be the place where you want to go every day and just enrichen yourself and tap into the experiences and the wisdom of other people.
You said it nicely.
You also say a lot of things nicely, Roelof. So anything else that we should wrap up with, do you think?
No, actually, I don't. I think we're going on for 31 minutes and 41 seconds. And I think I don't think we should be burdening people with more than that. I think that's 30 minutes is a lot of us, put it that way.
I just want to add one last idea is that we're having these conversations weekly, one-to-one, but if you're joining the community and you're feeling like, oh, this is fun, I would like to discuss it more in depth, then let us know, and we'll pick up those questions, and we'll come just like this live on LinkedIn and YouTube and explore the topics together. And we will invite you, members and genius leaders, to just join us and create this conversation together. Spread the word and keep sharing experiences with each other.
Yeah, and then nothing blocking. I mean, we have 80 posts that we can talk about, so we can do this for 2 years without anybody even having to put anything in. So that'd be, I think, good. So we could do this on a weekly basis, discuss whatever we think is perhaps useful, or other people might want to hear us discuss. I don't know if we have group sessions also. You're the expert on that, Anna, so I'll let you figure out what might work best. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot for tuning in, everyone. I see that there was when we discussed in the beginning, Carlotta's mentioned or wrote motion creates emotion. She resonated with her what you said.
Oh, I like that. So yeah. So somebody's listening, because I have absolutely no idea how many people are on because I can't see it. I just see you and me. That's it.
It's difficult sometimes to see those statistics, but I know that people will join later on, and this will also go as the podcast episode next week, so more people will tune in that way. And yeah, we'll just keep it rolling and see where it leads us, what we discover.
So we have a fixed time, fixed place kind of that we've decided it's going to be the same time each week. That's whatever I think that'd be a good idea there. Yeah. And if you, dear listeners or viewers, have ideas of what you would like to take us for us to take as a next topic, then just let us know. Well, and how do people give us feedback? I'm just curious.
I would say first is within the group. If they want to suggest some topics, just post there like, "Hi, these have been my reflections.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?" And we can take it within the group directly or bring it to the call every week. And then I would say we're both quite present on LinkedIn. Just message one of us and you'll get the reply.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So in other words, keep it simple. Okay.
Yeah. And keep it fun. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Okay,
bye for now.
So we're done.
Yeah.